Why choose Kelly Chevrolet? We offer a wide selection of new and used inventory with a team that guides you to your perfect fit. Our certified pre-owned options ensure peace of mind with warranties and rigorous inspections. Competitive pricing, flexible financing, and convenient trade and services, making your dream Chevrolet a reality. Trust our experienced service team to keep your vehicle in top shape and enjoy free car washes as long as you own your vehicle.
And welcome in everybody to the Summit City Sports Report number 42 on the year. We took a little bit of a break, but Tim, I think we finally got a time slot worked out here. Mondays, I think starting at 7 o'clock we'll do going forward. But man, a lot of good action going on this winter, Tim, especially on the hardwood. And coming up this Friday, actually Friday and Saturday, you got two of the better games that we're going to see boys basketball-wise in Northeast Indiana.
Yeah, there's no doubt, Jeff. It's it's one of those couple of games that you circle right on the schedule as soon as they come out. We got the doubleheader of the SAC and Luers at Wayne on Friday night. Of course, the only two undefeated teams in the Summit Athletic Conference on the boys' side. We're going to go on Wednesday and talk about the girls' upcoming sectionals and that. But for tonight, for the boys, and then that's going to be a high atmosphere game. Cannot wait for that atmosphere at Wayne with the only two undefeated teams. And then Saturday night, Blackhawk Christian at Wayne, two of the better teams in Northeast Indiana as well. So yeah, it's an outstanding week. We've had them circled, no doubt about it, since the beginning, early as the schedule's released.
Yeah, and I know we got Coach Roth coming on later in the show here, actually coming up in just a few minutes. But wow, Blackhawk now competing in 3A, Tim.
Yeah.
And they're still a ranked team doing a great job. But that just speaks to what Mark Davidson started there with the program. And right. Coach Roth has picked up and really hasn't missed a beat.
No, it's been a flawless, seamless transition. Of course, for the late Mark Davidson, who now the court is named the Mark Davidson Court there at Blackhawk Christian, which if you haven't been to a Blackhawk Christian game at their home gym, it's one of the best environments. It's a nice, cozy, small gym. They're really a 1A school playing up in Class 3A due to all their success factor. And, we'll talk about some of the players coming up. But, when you have a 6'10" kid in Kellen Pickett that's committed to Wright State, it all starts right there with the big fella. And then Briggs Pardon, the transfer from Carroll, that's running the point, which has left Bryce Sefton, their outstanding senior, move off the ball a little bit, where he can shine a little bit more. They got an outstanding freshman class and Bryce Lacrosse, Coach Lacrosse's son, and the younger Sefton brother and Drake Sefton. Yeah, they're a loaded squad. And in 3A, I mean, they're 12-3 on the season. They got beat by a really tough Silver Creek 3A team. And then their other losses are, back December the 7th against 4A Avon. And then that loss last January 14th at Homestead, where half their team was pretty much missing due to flu. So, that was a lopsided victory in Homestead against Columbia City, which, the score jumped out to us. But when you find out that they're missing some players, right, it made a little bit more sense. But that's not to take anything away from Homestead. I mean, Homestead is one of the best teams in the Summit Athletic Conference as well. They're the lone one-loss team in the SAC. So yeah, it's they're a dynamite team, and we'll get Coach Roth on to talk about what he feels like coming up and where we're going next. But yeah, they're outstanding team in Class 3A.
Yeah, last time out was the win 66-61 against Luers. They got Dwenger coming up, and then Wayne on Saturday, which will be a huge game. So we got Coach Roth going to join us here. And Coach, thanks so much for joining the Summit City Sports Report. We got Tim Atkins sitting here, joining Jeff Mahoney. And wow, Coach, here in your third year, you guys are now competing in 3A. But coming off one of your bigger wins of the season, 66-61 back on the 18th. Coach, how's the season going for you guys?
Well, I mean, it's been a challenge. We've got a new group of guys with a couple new faces to the program, mixed in with some youth, some freshmen that are very talented. And then a grueling schedule. We don't have many easy nights out there, and that's by design. But it's also, it presents a lot of challenges. We've got to be up for those. And I thought we've done a good job. We've battled some adversity early with some change of faces, like I mentioned. We've gone through the flu, whatever the stomach bug was that was one of the more a headache to coach through the Christmas break and the second semester here. But I like where we're at. We're a long way from where we need to be, but we're also on the right track to get there, and that's a good feeling.
Tim, this is a team that's won 17 sectional championships throughout their program's history.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
7 in a row. Wow.
Yeah.
The last time you didn't win sectionals, 2017, Tim.
Yeah, that's the standard that head coach Mark Davidson set. It's one of the main reasons his name is on that floor. Did such a great job. Of course, rest in heaven, Coach Davidson, did such a great job, and it's been a seamless coach with you taking over. Joel Cotton given the job. The athletic director there is an outstanding athletic director, by the way. I know, as you know, but just telling the people out there, he's one of the best in the business. There's no question about it. But talk about that transition that you not to say you got thrown into it, because I know it's a challenge that you wanted to take on. But how did that pan out? Were you basically? I know you were on the staff before he passed. Was it kind of considered that you were going to be up for that job?
I don't really know, kind of those details. His last year of coaching, was my first year back in, and I coached with him for 3 years, 2013 through the end of the 16 season, and then got out of it for work and kids and family situations. And so that last year that he coached, I was actually a varsity assistant out at Heritage, and kind of had the tugging and the pulling on my heart to get back to Blackhawk. Had kind of had some thoughts in my mind of what it would be like to come back, be his assistant, having that relationship with him, almost the brotherhood approach of how we dealt with things and how we interacted. My thought was always, how can I come back and be his assistant, work with him again, work with Coach Lindsay, and the great staff we have here. And obviously, there were different plans, and God had bigger things in store, and how to use Mark and his testimony and his story. And so when the news came that he was going to step away, that was a really hard pill for me to swallow, just because how much I loved him and his wife Lisa and all their kids. And so it took me some time to wrap my head around, was this, I felt pretty compelled to come back and coach with him, but was it something I could come in and try and step in and lead a program? It was a challenge I was excited to take on, but obviously not anywhere near the situation. I would have much rather sat on that bench with him than not have him with us. But, he left a great foundation to build on, and I'm trying to build upon that, but also not lose attachment to the things that were important that made this a special place.
Yeah, and before we move on to the upcoming couple of games here and that, the youth that the program that he built, he put his fingerprint on. It's an outstanding youth program, with the Club 1 leagues that you guys are in. I mean, that 8th grade squad that's coming in is outstanding. That'll be coming into you guys next year. And, the freshman class that you already mentioned that's in there with Lacrosse and Sefton and Wood and several players. Tell us about the meaning of that youth program for Blackhawk Christian and what that means in your guys' success throughout the years.
Yeah, I think Mark was phenomenal at this, and it's something I've had the opportunity to step right in. I always joke I got a better job than any of our other head coaches here because I get to teach our primary PE. So I get every kindergarten, every first grader that's coming in, they get to know me as a friend, somebody they can look forward to seeing. And so there's just pure excitement when they come around or when they see me in the hallways. And that trickles on into, the youth program that he started, which is a K through 8, program. We do take advantage of the great Club 1 leagues and play. And I think the biggest thing, the measuring stick for me is always, going back over the years, guys here, if you offered them another summer playing AAU all over the country, whatever that looks like, or if you told them you could play 30 more games with the guys that you've played with your whole way through, every one of them would choose to play 30 more games with their guys. That brotherhood, that culture, they don't care. I mean, they do, but They don't care as much about, the publicity and, hey, I'm playing in Atlanta this week and Dallas this week. No, they'd rather go play a 3-game shootout with their high school buddies. And I think that speaks volume to the culture of the program, top to bottom, that these guys grow up playing together. It's a tight-knit community, and they love that, and they lean into it.
Yeah, and the culture that's there is outstanding. I always joke around about, if you're coming to Blackhawk Christian to watch a game, you better get there an hour and a half early. You got the fire marshal out there with the ticker, counting the people as they come in. We saw that against Luers just previously in that outstanding game, that battle. Tell us about, that's a 2A team, quote unquote, but with some high level basketball players. What did you guys take out of that 5-point win against Bishop Luers?
Well, it was a great measuring stick for us of where we're at. We just came out of a game where we were shorthanded due to the flu. At Homestead, we didn't play. Even the guys that were healthy didn't play to the level we expect, and I know my players expect. And so we were hungry. We had a chip on our shoulder coming out of that because we needed to respond to adversity and move on to the next game, which was Luers, who's a fantastic club. One we knew really, really well from the sectional. They returned so many key pieces that we felt like we had a really good beat on it. And my staff did a phenomenal job. I mean, I empower them much like a lot of other coaches do, I'm sure, but they have hands-on the scouting report. They're adding stuff left and right, and we all have our different color codes that we add, and it's a true group effort when we scout an opponent. And we just had great notes. We had great game plan, and then our players came out and really executed and played with the poise and the confidence that we wanted to. And kind of controlled the game for the most part. Luers made a great push in the second half, but we were able to kind of rally the troops and play through our strengths.
Yeah, and with the outstanding crowd that was on there, I mean, it's always such a hype environment out there, especially when you're playing another top-level team like yourselves. Just brings in another added thing. Sidebar, is that where they tore that house down? Is that going to be expansion of the parking lot? Do you know?
I've got no idea. I mean, you got a 4-wheel drive. I'm sure you could park out there. If it's not a weight room and it's not, anything to do with the gym, I keep my nose out of it. It's a great space. I'm sure they've got plans for it, but also, it adds to that game night experience. You got to park, you got to get in. I tell Darren McCown, our band director, like, we keep scheduling our games during his band concerts because they blow the roof off over there. And it's there's nothing better than a packed gym. Any night we play, it's going to be that way, and it's just an awesome place.
Yeah, the outstanding cheerleaders, and then they're having the tunnel as the boys come out for their warm ups, and the band sitting in the upper right hand corner. Just one of the best pep bands in Fort Wayne. And I've seen them all. They're outstanding. There's no doubt about that. But talking about your club a little bit, a lot of people around the state, have a misconception that, it's a private school, they're recruiting, they're doing all this. And I'm always sticking up saying, hey, go look at the kids. 95% of them are coming through the elementary and the middle school. Yes, you get a transfer from here or there, but the majority are from Blackhawk Christian. And I wanted to preface that before we talked about Briggs, who transferred into you. Talk about what Briggs has brought to the team. What I noticed was Seth did not being, so much focal point on handling the ball. It's freed him up to do some other things. And then the talent level of Briggs from his sophomore year to his junior year, he's just blossomed.
Yeah, I mean, he's first of all, he's a tremendous kid, comes from a great family. And so, he's obviously one of the exceptions where, we've got wait lists and things like that for almost every grade, and a line out the door to get into pre-K. And that stuff's crazy to me. I can't wrap my mind around that. But, he's a tremendous kid. He came in hungry, passionate, but also incredibly humble in terms of wanting to build relationships with his teammates. And if you can't do that here, you're not going to find success. And so he's done that. He's embraced his teammates. They've embraced him. I think one of the big areas that he's still growing in is, when you're my point guard, you have freedom. You have my trust out there. And so, you don't need to look to me to say, hey, let's try this or let's run this or, if you see it, go do it. I don't want you to be reactionary. If you're waiting for me to tell you it's open, then my counterpart of all these great coaches on our schedule, they're probably already telling their team to take this away. And so I want him to be able to read and play and see the game. And Gage Sefton did a phenomenal job with that 2 years ago. And Briggs is kind of following in those same molds where every night something new clicks and you see it. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to put that in my pocket for next time. And so he's really grown. But again, it doesn't work here unless you're all in. And he's been bought into his teammates and the culture here. And he wants to be a part of it for all the right reasons.
And the Sefton family, they've been, it's one after the other there almost at Blackhawk Christian. It's so great to see the legacies. We talked about it at Snyder football and Dwenger football and the legacies that come through the door. With Sefton and now, Bryce playing with his younger brother and Drake. What's that like dynamically in a practice?
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, I've seen both ends of it, Gage and Bryce together, and now Bryce and Drake together. And, those are moments I cherish, and I know their parents do. Jay and Erica love it when they're together and when they're competing. But you get to see in practice, they're completely different personalities. They're completely different kids. What makes them tick are two different things, and you've got to embrace both of them for who they are, and then take those personalities and skill sets and mesh them together. And that's the fun part, to watch them compete. And, I don't know. I asked Jay the other day if there's another one coming, but I think he said yes. But Cece's going to be on the girls' side, and she's going to dominate some things. They're an outstanding family, and I don't know when that next group of siblings will come along that are all in the program at the same time. But boy, it's a special thing, and it's a special thing when they're here. Their whole careers, like the Seftons have been. I mean, I can remember when I coached in 2013, and Bryce was just a little tight coming over and watching games, and Gage was, at 4th, 5th grade coming over and watching games. And so to see them grow up and turn into great young men it's exciting.
Yeah, there's, it always is a special thing when I see that, with us doing it for the past 12 years, to see those familiar names, and then you start to get to know their parents, like Jay. I've gotten to know him a little bit. It's another added wrinkle to the city of Fort Wayne that I absolutely love. But Coach, before we start talking about these upcoming games, which is a tremendous, the schedule continues, as you say. Kellen Pickett, he's committed to Wright State. This kid does everything. I was really, everybody knows his low post, and he's got that nice fadeaway, his jump hooks, his rebounding, his timing on his block shots really impressed me. I've seen a lot of great capable out there through the past 12 years, going back to Jalen Butts, Malik Williams, Keon, and those types of players. He seems like he has that little edge that makes him be able to shot 5-6 blocks a game.
Yeah, I mean, he's a tremendous competitor. I mean, he's a great kid. He's turned into an outstanding captain for me. And I said 2 years ago, that first year, I think I told my wife this. I said, we can go as far as Kellen can take us, even as a sophomore. And then we're going to need those seniors to bail us out. And sure enough, those seniors bailed him out in the semi-state final. But, man, he went on a tear 2 years ago, and he hasn't looked back. He continues to work. He's in the gym all the time, working on his game. I mean, he's so big at 6'10". His wingspan's over 7 foot, almost 7'1". He would tell you 7'1", but he'd be lying by a little bit.
That's okay.
But, he's in the weight room. Like, yeah, he looks like he needs to get stronger. But then when you look at where he was and his weight and his frame, like he gets after it. He's one of those kids that you can build your program around because of his work ethic. And then you look at his skill set and, yeah, his block shot ability. He blew the single season record out of the water last year with 111 or something, 112 blocks. Had a triple-double last year with block shots, had a triple-double last year with assists and rebounds. He's a special kid, but he's a competitor. It doesn't matter if it's an argument at lunchtime or, a shooting contest after practice. He's there to win, and he's there to do anything he can to get a competitive advantage. And, he's going to do great things. I think his best basketball is still ahead of him, which pains me to admit, but I think it is. And that work ethic is going to carry him well into his time at Wright State.
And looking forward, your next matchup, you never want to overlook anybody. We saw what Dwenger took Luers all the way to the end on Friday night. They're a very capable team. It seems like Coach Leary's got the ear of his youngsters right now, going into the rest of this season as we're over the midway point. But this is a potential sectional foe for you guys now, in that Garrett sectional being in 3A. Is this a type of game where you don't show all your cards just in case, or is it we're going to go play our game? It doesn't matter what the other teams see. We're just going to do what we do. Yeah, I mean, we're in a situation where we need to put our best foot forward. We're a long way from a finished product. The team I think we're going to be when we get to that sectional is still down the road from where we're at. So we don't have anything fine-tuned, perfect. We're going to have to come out and play with great energy. They've got kids who are shot makers. Every time I watch them, they're playing another sophomore. It seems like I don't know how many sophomores they've got. But there's a lot. It seems like every night out, there's another one. And they're kids that have been around the game. They know how to play. They know how to make shots, and they can put pressure on you if you're not ready to contest shots and guard with purpose. And certainly we saw that with the Luers game. Yeah. But anytime you have a coaching change and change in players, and you're talking a team who, I don't remember if was it last year or the year before they lost, or maybe they won. I can't remember. There was a tremendous buzzer beater in that sectional between Concordia 2 years ago. Yeah. And I can't remember which way it went, but they've been right there. Yeah. It was the same thing when we played Concordia, a few weeks back. They're gonna give us their best effort. They're gonna come out. They're gonna be tough. They're gonna be physical. They're gonna play with great composure, and they're gonna play really hard. And so for us, we've got to try and still come out and find that identity of what can we work on, what can we build on, so that we're progressing towards our goals, and not just kind of floating in the middle of the season here. We want to be pressing on and leaning into this challenge that's ahead of us. Yeah, and speaking of challenge, I know it's one game at a time for a coach, but the atmosphere that's going to be out at Wayne High School on Saturday. They have one of the best players in the state in Chase Barnes. That's an absolute bucket getter. They got real talent with Dillard and Comer, and Williams Thomas is way underrated in my opinion as a defensive player. We know he can get out and flush the ball, but steal wise, how much have you looked at that Wayne game yet? No, I mean, you kind of keep a pulse. I mean, it's always one game at a time, but as a coach and as a staff, you've kind of got to keep a big picture of what's out there. You're always watching scores, you're watching stats, you're watching film here or there. And then you when you get close, you really dive in. So, Wednesday morning, that's when you really dive into the complexities of Wayne, but that's also part of the reason that I empower my assistants, Cal Springer, Joey Moreland, Mike Lindsay. They're looking at opponents before I even get to them, because they know, hey, I can take point on this, or I can take point on this. And they know I'm going to add my notes and my thoughts and everything to it. But they do a wonderful job of kind of pre-scouting teams. And it allows me kind of just to watch and take things in. And then when we dive in, then it becomes really fine-tuned. So, I mean, we know Wayne's got a tremendous squad. They were in the semi-state final a year ago. Lost to, I believe it was Fishers last year. Played Fishers, who's outstanding. I mean, top-notch. Pick a team in the state you want to be, it's probably Fishers, right? Mm-hmm. And they played them tough here at the holiday times, and their schedule's no slouch either. So it'll be a big-time game out there at Wayne. It always is. It'll be a lot of energy, a lot of talent, and a lot of great kids out there competing, which is what it's all about at the high school level. Yeah, no question about it. I mean, it's crazy how, when you first start the basketball season, you're looking at this huge long schedule, and before you know it, you got 8 games left. What is the one thing or two things that Blackhawk Christian, your club, has got to do to propel yourself into that 3A sectional and make a run towards Indy? Well, I mean, the biggest thing is being locked into the details. It's the biggest difference, in my opinion, going from 1A to 2A, is in 2A, you've got to guard usually 2 really good players on every team in the state tournament. And then, their supporting cast of role players are able to make plays. They run really good offense. And we've had the ability to have success at that level. And in 3A, you get more depth. You have to start worrying more. 2 years ago, we played, 6 guys. And
This year we're pushing, and we're fighting to try and play 7 or 8 because we need that depth. We're going to get in foul trouble. We're going to play teams that have more depth. Playing Homestead the other night where their 6th, 7th man could come in and make a major mark on the schedule. We need to be able to match that in what we do. And so, we're constantly working. We're constantly trying to fine-tune the details of knowing the personnel, knowing the scouting report, knowing the bench guys. And that's new for our guys. Just, the level of detail goes up, and, we're moving into a tremendous sectional. I mean, Leo was in the state finals not that many years ago. And Concordia made it through last year, lost the heartbreaker in the regional, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
Dwangers made it through to the semi-state. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody in there, but it's
Garrett's well improved.
Yeah, they're off to a great start. It's just, and then you've got veteran coaches in there too. You throw Marty in there,
right?
Cal, who throw the records out anytime you play one of his teams. He's going to have the best game plan he can every night out, and so it's a tremendous sectional. It's a lot of new opponents for us, and so it's a lot of new personnel to learn, new systems to learn. And so just trying to teach our guys how important the details are day in and day out if we want to pursue excellence, which we do.
And my last question, a little more lighthearted question for you before we let you go. I know when you left the state of Illinois to come be a Hoosier, you were the all-time leading three-point holder. Are you still that, or did somebody take your record?
It's my understanding I still have the career and consecutive games, but I would have to do a little fact-checking in my spare time, I suppose.
All right, I'm going with that. You are then. Anybody asks, I'm going to just go with that, Matt.
That's fair.
That sounds good, Tim. And we got Coach Keith Edmonds joining us here on the show. Coach, we got Coach Matt Roth from Fort Wayne Blackhawk Christian on the show with us. Do you have a question for Coach Roth?
Well, first of all, Coach, how you doing this evening?
Doing well. If you're not coaching basketball, the next best thing is probably to talk about basketball a little bit. So,
well, the thing about it is I'll let you guys have the pressure because I can't lose.
That's fair.
So, Coach, how do you feel like the season's going for you thus far? Are you, about where you thought you'd be, a little bit behind, a little ahead?
I think a little bit of all of that. We've faced some adversity. We've had some ups and downs. We've faced some illness. Like a lot of these places are. I mean, I know it's been going through a lot of programs. But, when I look at, the big picture for me, it's never really, the wins and losses are great. And that's why the kids love to compete. But we've got a great group. I've got a group of seniors that have turned into great leaders, which is going to serve them well. I've got some younger guys who have come in. They've learned what it takes to compete every day, not just on game days. So we're really growing. I think our best basketball is ahead of us. And likewise, I think the best opportunities for our guys are, as we continue to grow as a group. And I love where we're at. We've got a great, I call it a big brother, little brother, complex where, we can get after each other. But then when we walk off that court, these guys, they really love being together and they've got each other's backs, which is outstanding.
Yeah. Coach, when you take a look at because the expectations are always high at Blackhawk Christian, does each season have its own separate entity, or do you kind of parlay one season into the next? Hey, this is what last year's team did, or how do you go about it?
Well, I think the beauty of Blackhawk is so many of our kids came up watching those teams that came before them. They've either had siblings that have played or been a part of the program, and so they've seen it. They sit there just like my 4th grade boy sits right behind the bench, and he's taking in every situation and every moment, and so they've seen it. It's a part of who they are. It's a part of who we are, and so we lean into that. We try and embrace it. And we use it as a lot of teaching points. When we're going through a tough situation, to sit there and tell them that 5 years ago this group that had Division I talent and state aspirations, they went through the same thing. They've been in this situation, and this is how they handled it. And we need to try and learn how to handle it either better, or maybe we're handling it better than a certain group did before. And we try and praise our kids for that because it shows growth and maturity. And those are all things we want in our young men.
Sure.
All right, Coach. Well, I know we're kind of hamstrung. We're going to try to get Coach Coffin and again Coach Brewer on here as well. We really appreciate you taking your time out of your night here in a busy week as we're in the crunch time of this season. So good luck tomorrow against Dwenger, and Coach and I will see you Saturday night out at Wayne.
Awesome. No, appreciate it, guys. Love what you guys do for Fort Wayne, and keep up the good work.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys. So that was head coach Matt Roth with Blackhawk Christian, and man, Tim, Coach Edmonds. I mean, what Mark Davidson did with that program, turning it from, basically a program that was losing year in, year out as far as under 500 to just a perennial winner. And Coach Roth, I mean, they don't rebuild there. They just reload year in, year out. It's really special to see in this area.
Yeah, and as Coach mentioned, he's got a son in 4th grade. I believe the athletic director has a son in that same grade. I'm sure they're pretty good. Everybody's talked about their I'm sure everybody's talked about the 8th grade class. My cousin actually coaches it, Nick Cochran. He's got a son, Cooper Cochran, that's on that team. Mark Davidson's son is also on that 8th grade team. They do nothing but win. They finally got a loss against, I believe it was Maple Creek this year, but the cupboard is not bare. I know their 6th grade class is really good as well. Blackhawk Christian is not going anywhere, folks. And for everybody out there, yes, every school gets a transfer from here to there sometimes. The majority of these kids, I said 96 is probably more like 98%. These are all Blackhawk Christian kids from 1st grade on. So you got to give them credit where it's due. Stop with this hate mentality on Blackhawk Christian, because number one, they do it right. They stay with their ethics and their Christian background. And, having a guy like Matt Roth, who played big time basketball at IU in the Big Ten, is the all-time, we're saying it, he's the all-time leading 3-point shooter still in the state of Illinois. This guy knows how to coach. He knows how to play, and you can see it on there, Keith.
Well, the interesting thing about it is that you talk about different programs, the Butler way, the Duke way. There's a culture at Blackhawk Christian that, that is unprecedented here in our area. Kids come in and they understand, what the mandate is, and they accept that, and then they work towards that every year. Coach loads up their schedule with all the toughest teams he can find, and and they take on. They don't run from anyone, and they take on those challenges, and if you beat them, you beat them. They definitely aren't going to beat themselves, and it just gets them ready for a run in the state tournament, which happens every year, and it's going to happen again this year. And you talk about teams that are perennial favorites. They are a perennial favorite.
Yeah, and going into Class 3A, I mean, you still look at the sectional and you think they're the favorite. There's definitely teams that could beat them. There's no question about it, as what Coach Roth said. But if you're a betting man, if it's on DraftKings, they're going to have the highest likely ability of winning that sectional, which is just crazy to think about as a 1A school, just going through 2A, ripping. Now they're in 3A. I mean, it is super impressive. And I can think of like Coach Johnson at Homestead, where it really doesn't matter the kids that he's got there. They're always going to be good. They're always going to be coached well. They're always going to have a chance to win every game. And I'm seeing that with Coach Roth right now.
Are you going to take Blackhawk Christian or the field? Give me Blackhawk Christian.
I like that.
I don't care who's in the field, because those kids understand what it takes to win. They approach each game. They approach each game understanding that, we are the favorite, and we like that. There's an old saying that says winning is our business and business is good.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. That's how it is at Blackhawk.
Coach, many years you had coaching high school basketball with a lot of success. Just how hard is it to build that culture and then to keep it going? I feel like Blackhawk hit a home run when they hired Coach Matt Roth.
Well, you have to have someone that understands, because, again, when I say understand, they have to understand that coming into a situation like Blackhawk Christian where they've already been established. So you don't have to come in and try and reinvent things. You don't have to come in and tinker with too much. You basically just have to come in and just hold things steady. And, the kids are like, we get it. We understand what we're supposed to be doing. You coach, we'll play, and the culture is there. And then you go about your business. Again, it's so interesting to watch them play, because sometimes they get that look on their face, or people think they're kind of robotic. I mean, those kids enjoy playing, but it's just basketball. They understand that there's a bigger picture than basketball. And Coach Davidson did a tremendous job putting that that mindset in there, and those kids, his sons, obviously, and you're talking about second and third generations of kids that are coming into Blackhawk, and they all get it, and it's just fun to watch.
Well, guys, we're going to take a 1-minute break, and then we're going to have Bishop Luers head coach Seth Coffing join us coming up in 60. Give it 60 seconds.
Anderson Heating and Air, locally owned and operated with over 50 years of experience. Call us today and get a free quote on a brand new furnace and AC, financed and available. Don't wait. Call us today and sign up for a maintenance agreement and stay cool. Our maintenance agreements will ensure that you're first in line if you have an emergency, and we'll send one of our service techs out for cleanings twice a year. Call us at 557-0958 or request an appointment on our website. Call Anderson Heating and Air, where your emergency is our emergency.
Thank you for watching Summit City Sports. To help broaden our coverage, we're asking you to become a monthly sponsor to our Patreon account. We produce weekly highlights and live video broadcast. When the Homestead Girls Golf Team won its first state title in program history, we were there. When Fort Wayne brought back 3 state titles in cross country, we were there. We believe in sharing positive stories and setting the standard for how high school sports should be covered. Join us and donate today. Welcome back, everybody. We have Bishop Luers head coach Seth Coffing joining us here on the show. He's in his 3rd year with the school. 41-23 overall record at Bishop Luers. Coach, 12-2 record this season. You guys are playing some pretty good basketball right now. How are you feeling about the season so far?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, guys. We feel pretty good. We still feel like, obviously, we're not a finished product by any means. We got plenty of areas that we need to continue to improve on, and we're working on that on a daily basis. But our 2 losses are 2 really, really good teams and programs, and so nothing to be ashamed of those 2, and we feel like we're in a good spot moving forward.
Yeah, Coach, I'll start it here. We appreciate you taking your time out. First of all, this is definitely a busy part of the schedule, and coming off that Friday night game, I was out there at the Battle of the Bishops. It felt like an old school Indiana high school basketball game with the amount of people that were out there. Both student sections were live and hype. The cheerleaders on both sides, and boy, did Dwenger step up to the challenge with you guys. What did you take out of that? Obviously didn't play your best basketball of the season, but what did you take out of that and communicate to your kids on that win on Friday?
Well, it's just one of those things where records don't really mean anything in that rivalry. It's try to tell the kids that coming into it. I think they look at it. We're going into that game 11-2, and they're 1 and whatever, and but they're getting better too, and I just knew that they were going to be ready for us. At this point, really same thing as we talked about the second half of last year. We're getting everybody's best too, and everybody wants to knock us off at this point, which that's kind of our thing at the beginning of the year. We talked about we've continued to try to be the hunters rather than the hunted, and sometimes that's easier said than done with teenage high school kids to keep that mentality. But Dwenger, first of all, played super physical with us. There was a heck of an atmosphere. It was wall to wall in there. They had fans all over the place in there. They had their feeder school night. So it was kind of like walking into a buzzsaw, even though maybe they're not as talented as what they've been in the past. They were ready for us and played good basketball. And I just didn't think that we really played very well in that first half. I thought we stepped up to the challenge and did a lot of better things in the second half. But the first half, I wasn't very happy with a lot of different things, especially on the defensive end.
Yeah, a lot of turnovers definitely in that first half led to some easy buckets for Dwenger. But let's talk about the progression of Danny Kelly, because he was huge in that first half. And he's been huge all year. It seems like from junior year now to senior year, he's just taken another step to being a high-level college basketball player in the future. What have you seen out of Danny and his progression from a year ago?
Well, and everybody talks about the Twins with us, rightfully so. They're very talented kids, and
absolutely
they do a lot of things on the floor. But Danny, his potential is not much different than theirs. He has the ability to do so many different things on the floor. He's got, a 6'6" frame, but he's above the rim on most things he does. He has the potential to really defend when he wants to. And for him, it's just been, being more consistent. He'll have a play or a series of plays where you're like, wow. And then he doesn't do anything for 4 or 5 plays. And you're kind of wondering where he was at. And I think that's really the college recruiting part. They wanted to see that more consistently. And I think this second half of the year, we're starting to see it, and against really good players and competition. He had a great game over at Blackhawk last Saturday.
Yep.
Or the Saturday before last, I should say, against Pickett. And, that's as good a challenge as you're going to find anywhere in the state, I think, against a kid like that. And he stepped up to it. And then, against Dwenger, Nolan came out and had 15 in the first half against us. And at halftime, Danny said, "Give me Nolan. I want to guard him." And, typically you wouldn't think that would be a great matchup for him to be guarding more of a quicker guard, but he really slowed him down. And Nolan had 7 in the second half, and they were on 4 free throws and then a 3 towards the end when they were firing from everywhere. But so he really made a big difference on the defensive end. And that's what he's done for the last 2 years for us. On a different team and a different year here at Luers, he would probably be the man getting a lot more shots. But he's really accepted that role and just done a lot of different things for us on the floor, and knows that those things, help us win games, and that's what really matters.
Yeah, and for the Truesdale Twins, Coach, one more, and then I'll let you have it, Coach Edmonds. You're talking about the Truesdale Twins. What's really impressive to me is how aggressive they are of getting in the passing lanes and using their length to get some easy transition buckets. And then what we saw against Dwenger, and we've seen it, is attacking the offensive glass. Has that been a mindset that you're trying to instill in them? Has it come naturally to them? How do you look at that?
For sure. That's something we talk about on a daily basis, is crashing the glass on the offensive end, because when those two and Danny decide that they're going to go to the glass, there aren't very many people that can stop them from getting a rebound, or at least affecting the rebound and allowing us to maybe have a deflection or, a second chance or a third chance. And, Darian had 6 offensive rebounds on Friday. He really didn't play very well any other part of the game, I didn't think, compared to what he can. And he ended up with 20 because of those offensive rebounds and getting a lot of easy baskets and getting to the free throw line. He didn't shoot it very well, but when they decide that they're going to go get that ball, there's not a lot anybody can do with them, with being 6'4", long, athletic, being able to jump out of the gym, and they have good instincts too. They find the ball off the rim really well, and so that's a constant thing that we talk about in practice and watching film, is just doing that. We always have offensive rebound goals that we set before games, and that's something I continue to challenge those guys with for sure.
Keith?
Coach, what was the well, first of all, how you doing, man? You doing good?
I'm good, Keith. How are you?
Good. Coming into this season, the expectations were high and continue to be high. What did you talk about? What was your approach? Was it, we start talking about state championship right now, or do you kind of just, I always kind of broke my season down when I had a team like yours, that we were expected to go to state. We kind of broke it down. We wanted to take care of our conference first. Then we wanted to take care of our holiday tournament, then sectional regionals. So at that particular time, when we went to state in 2003, we called it 6 championships. We had a regular season, we had the holiday tournament, we had the sectional, regional, semi-state, and then obviously the state. So, how have you broken this season down, and what was your mindset going into this season?
Well, we don't avoid the topic. I mean, our
Sure.
eventual goal is a state championship. I mean, there's no reason to avoid it. Like that's what we want to get. That's what we're after. But like, how do you get there, right? Like, I mean, it's a long season. It's a long process, and being able to focus on the day to day when that's your end goal is the challenge. And ultimately, we had a really good season last year, winning 20 games, but we didn't win any trophies.
Right.
We didn't win a sectional. We didn't win a holiday tournament. We didn't win the SAC. So the hunger was obviously still there. I mean, there was no complacency coming into the season for that. And our kids understand that. And, there was several different losses last year where we just didn't feel like that we should have gotten beat either. And, coming into this year, that we've kind of got those circled on our schedule. And, we talk about different things that why we lost in sectionals last year to Blackhawk. And there was definitely some very obvious reasons in my mind that we've continued to try to work on, especially in the half court. Trying to be able to run offense better when we get leads, that type of thing. Not standing around and just watching, our talented guys dribble too much. Just all those things. And just really on the defensive end being more consistent. I thought that, we have times where we go on runs and it's elite defense just getting into passing lanes and causing a lot of havoc around the floor. But when you get down to tournament time, teams are much better at slowing you down and playing in the half court. And so we've had to get better at that, and that's something that we've really focused on. And I think that we've made big strides there. We're not where we want to be yet, but we've definitely made big strides there. The Warsaw game down at Richmond was a really good indicator of that. We had stretches where we were just an absolutely dominant defensive team in that game, and then we had stretches in our half-court offense, which was really, really good against obviously an awesome defensive team. So. Again, there's plenty of things that continue to work on, and our film work has gotten a lot better. Our guys have been focused, and ultimately, we have a lot of really good players on this team, and they've bought into being really good at their roles, which is not always easy to do with any team, but especially high school kids that think they're going pro. So that's a constant battle.
Yeah, and speaking of those, the ones that just come out to me, Al Taylor knows his role so well. Him hitting those little mid-range jumpers, bringing the defense out, where whether it be Draylon or Darion can run the baseline for those easy looks, and he can hit that shot, which the defense has to come out for. And then Carmani, just a knockdown 3-point shooter. You cannot let him alone anywhere on the floor. It's those kids having their roles since Fairski coming off the bench there as a freshman. You got a great freshman class, but has that been the key so far as the kids are taking their roles? They're not, we're not all the Truesdales. We're not all Danny Kelly. We got to play our role if we want to win a state title.
Yeah, it's certainly been a big key. And it's, a lot of discussion, a lot of just, overall communication, one-on-one talks, those type of things happen all the time within our program, between me and players and my assistants as well. Just really communicating, being honest. Like I said, I have a lot of kids probably coming off the bench that in a different year would be playing a lot bigger role or starting or whatever. And they've just accepted it and have been really good teammates. That's the number one rule in our program, is being a great teammate. And they continue to do that, which I think, we were playing New Haven the other night, and Coach Appleton said, we were talking before the game, and he said, he's like, everybody talks about your starters. He's like, look, they're great. He goes, but I've been most impressed watching film with your bench. He's like, they just know their role when they come in. They play extremely hard. They don't care if they play a minute or two or 8, and they do their job. And it's true, and you said something about Ale. Like, he's been a huge addition for us, just being able to be physical and play inside and rebound and know that now next year he probably scores a lot more points. He has that capability this year, but he knows that, that's not really how we're going to win games with this team this year is him taking a bunch of shots. And the same can be said about our shot makers that we have on this team. Like the Truesdales and Danny could probably come down and get shots up every time down the floor, but our constant speech to our whole team is try to get great shots. We don't want good shots. We want great shots. And, we have assist goals that we try to get. And so just to keep that mindset of making us really, really hard to guard because we're going to play unselfish. And our kids have really done a nice job with understanding that.
Yeah, there was a sequence against Dwenger that Chuck McBride had a great defensive play on one end, and the very next possession, he had a nice cut to the block and finished that. I mean, that sort of thing, when I'm looking at it, it breeds an opportunity to go to state when you have your 7th, 8th, whatever you want to say, really producing and giving you a couple, 3, 4 good possessions that could be the difference of a winner and a loss.
Who doesn't like Chuck McBride? I mean, that kid just comes in and throws his body at people.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what we need in his role, right? He comes in, he's physical, and he plays the 5 spot, undersized most of the time, but he plays extremely good post defense. He understands what our concepts are. He does them really well. And, one game, like I said, he might play 6 minutes, the next game 15, and he doesn't. You don't know the difference. And got kids like that. I mean, you're exactly right. We got to have a full roster of those to understand that in order for us to move forward.
Coach, you said something about role players, and I definitely agree with you. But your marquee players, they have to understand their role. They have to set the tone. I'm sure they have to be your hardest workers. They have to understand that everyone recognizes and knows who they are. How have they accepted that role? How do you keep them from getting complacent and we're only playing such and such tonight, so I don't really need to bring it? I mean, how do you keep their motor running?
Well, if I said it was easy to do all the time, I'd be lying. There's been some halftime speeches where I might be a little compared to Bobby Knight at times this year to make sure that we're staying focused.
Sure.
The Concordia game rings a bell. We had I thought a really poor first half, and not because of the score, really just how we executed things in our defensive effort. And the speech at halftime was like, it's not about this game, fellas. Like our end goal is what it is. We know what it is. And the only way that we're going to get there is if we approach every single time we step on the floor at a high level and at an elite level and wanting to improve every single time. And then, we came out and we played a really good second half. And then the next few games that week, we had probably the weakest part of our schedule. We had Busco, where we were making that game up. We had Canterbury that was on Saturday, making that game up. And so the approach in those games was so much better. And I was really proud of the guys for doing that and making sure that we did have that approach. But going back to what you were saying, Draylon has really, really stepped up as a leader. He has been working extremely hard off the floor to get stronger. He approaches every day with the right mentality and attitude. And he's not really a vocal kid by nature, but he's taken on that role more and more because he understands, I think, who he is and what he is to us. And there's been a couple times this year where, I've just whispered in his ear during a free throw, like, it's time. It's time for you to be a Division I player right now. And I don't care what it looks like. Go out there and make the shot or make the right play. And sometimes we need those dudes to carry us because they're just that. They're dudes. And, you don't get them every year. So, you got to ride that horse as long as you can.
Sure.
And Coach, you and Wayne, the only undefeated teams in the Summit Athletic Conference right now. You got a back end schedule of a lot of Summit Athletic Conference squads. I mean, you still got South and Snyder and Northside and Carroll to end the season down there. But, you got Norwell coming up tomorrow. Obviously what we talked with Coach Matt Roth of Blackhawk Christian, you're not ever overlooking a game, but how hard is that to keep your kids focused? Now the McBrides can play out there at Norwell. There's no doubt they could beat anybody. But is it hard? Is it difficult to keep your group focused on one game when you have that Wayne game just looming there on Friday?
I feel like it's actually been better this week. So far, it's only Monday. But, last year I really thought, it was constantly like telling our guys, we can't overlook these guys. Norwell's well coached. They're going to do everything fundamentally right. And they did. And they took us to the buzzer. And it took a Draylon step back, long 2 to win at the buzzer down there at Norwell. I thought our guys were really a lot more focused today. I reminded them of that game many, many times over the last few days. And, it's no secret, like Friday is a huge game for the conference. And, I thought last year the Wayne game was the game of the year around the city. It was at just a unbelievably high level of high school basketball. And, the atmosphere was unbelievable. We had, basically, I think the fire department probably should have kicked some people out of our gym that night. And I think it'll be like that again Friday, and our kids know that. They're kids, they know, and they're not dumb. They look at their schedule and they know what's coming up. And thankfully I was happy that I didn't get any calls from Wayne TV today about it being the game of the week yet, because we don't need quite that going on yet, but I assume that it probably will be in the next couple of days. But we got to go down. We got to go out and take care of business right now.
Yeah, we got Coach Coffing. Yeah, game of the week. Yeah. Just brought that up. Coach, whether they say it's the game of the week, man.
Yeah,
it's the game. Listen, it's the game of the month. It's the game. It's the game of the season. I mean, these kids. And I tell you what, I always liked being the big game. It didn't matter to me whether they told us or not. It's just the fact of who we are, what we have on across our chest as far as our school is concerned. We are everyone's big game. Yeah. And I think when you approach it that way, then kids, hey, because as a coach, I'm still a fan, and I still get caught up in the atmosphere of the game as well. And you want that. You want that for your kids, because not everyone gets this.
Yeah.
I mean, games like Friday are why we do what we do. I mean,
sure. You mentioned earlier, you got dudes. And when you got dudes, then it makes it a lot of fun. And your kids are entertaining. They play to the crowd. They understand that, hey, this might be our last time on the dance floor, and we're going to dance. And we have a ton of respect for Wayne. Obviously, they're the team to beat. Still, nobody's done it. Sure.
And so we got all the work to do, and we know that. And like I said, last year's game was a heck of a lot of fun, and I expect that Friday will be again. It'll be a huge crowd. It'll be fun. It'll be a wonderful high school atmosphere that everybody be ready for and talking about, and hopefully it's just as competitive and as good of a game as last year, and I don't think there's any reason to believe it won't be. So like you said, it's exactly where you want to be. We talk about it all the time that we get everybody's best, but I would 100% rather have that than everybody think that we stink. So it's better to be the team that everybody thinks is really good than a team that's not. So we're in a good spot.
And my last question for you, Coach. So moving on to the back, quarter, third of the season here, with all these SAC games, and then leading into the sectional there at South Adams. What does Bishop Luers and your club need to do to get yourselves a little bit closer to where you expect them to be?
I just think, like I said, defensively is the main part. I think we just got to get more consistent. We've had stretches. We've not put a full game together, which is totally fine at this point, to not have done that. If we were playing our best basketball right now, that would be a problem. So, we just got to have longer stretches of that team defense that we continue to work on every day. When we get down and play defense and understand our philosophy and do it well, we're really hard to score against. And if we can get to that point where it's a little bit closer to 32 minutes by the time March hits, I like our chances, because I'm not really too worried about us scoring the ball. I think we're going to be able to do that at a high level on just about anybody we face. And but if we can guard and stop people, we're going to be in a really good spot. And so that's my goal, is ultimately over the next month to continue to get better at that and be really close to 32 minutes of just great defensive basketball.
Outstanding. Keith, you got last one for Coach?
Well, I mean, I think Coach has kind of answered all the questions. It's just, really at this point, it's just finishing the season. Obviously, you want to win the conference, and that's the first thing. And again, because I think when you get in these positions, you never want kids to look back and regret that they didn't finish things. So before you get to a sectional or regional or any of the other goals that you have, let's take care of the conference, and and then move forward from there. Coach, I think you do a good job, tremendous job of keeping your kids locked in and focused, and it's going to take a tremendous team to beat you, but again, I said this earlier with Coach Roth. If I got the field or Bishop Luers, give me Luers. I think you guys are the team to beat, and let's go get this thing done.
Well, you can't look at our schedule and think we're not going to be prepared. That's for sure.
Ain't no doubt.
I was looking at a couple of the 2A schools that are, ranked maybe in the right area or above us. And I think our schedule speaks for itself with, all the 3A and 4A schools that we face. And so we're going to be battle tested. I don't think our kids are going to be nervous or afraid of any situation. So I like our chances when it comes to that. But there's a lot of basketball to be played. And, we talk about Wayne Friday, but there's a lot of good teams after that we got to work at to beat. I mean, look at somebody like Southside, who's having just a great year, and they're ultra talented with a couple of 6'8" kids in there. So, I mean, there's teams that along the way after Wayne that we're going to have to play really well to beat, and we know that. And so for us, it's just, understanding where we're at and taking it one day at a time. Like I said, I know it's a cliche, but it's really true. Like, if you don't do that and you keep looking ahead, then you're going to get beat. So we just have to focus on what's in front of us.
Sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt, Coach. Well, we appreciate you. Number one, thanks for coming to the SAC. We got some outstanding coaches, and you just added to the mix. So we appreciate you. Good luck the rest of the way. Good luck tomorrow. Good luck Friday. Good luck in 2A.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on, and you guys, I don't think you understand how much easier you make my job being able to watch these games from home rather than going out and scouting every single night. So I do appreciate that. It's not like it was 10 years ago where I had to go out and be in a gym every single Friday and Saturday night when I wasn't playing. So
you can send the young Jacob Redding, your new assistant out there. He's got plenty of ambition, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, and he does all my film, so that takes care of that too.
He can probably still shoot the heck out of it too.
Oh, I don't think our kids quite understand how good of a shooter he is, but
one of the best I've seen in the last 12 years.
Every once in a while, he pulls it out and shows them. So
I love it.
He's a true Redding. I knew Jake when he was. I mean, he's a true Redding. I gotta say this, and I know it's gonna make you laugh, but if I don't get an invite to your golf tournament, man, we are not playing. I'm just letting you know, because I've been begging you for 3 years, Seth. If you don't want me to play, just say you don't want me to play.
Well, I don't know. Your wife told me you're not very good, so No, you're in middle of May. Count on it.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach Coffing. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Outstanding. Coach pandering, trying to get in a golf invite. Gotta love it.
Man, I'm telling you, I got to get a sponsorship somewhere.
Do your best, Coach. Hey, Class 2A, number 3 ranked Bishop Luers. I mean, Coach has really turned it around in 3 years. His first year was under 500. The last 2 years has just been killing it with the Knights.
Yeah, there's no, that is one school that was blessed with having the right coach come in at the right time where kids were looking to go to another school. The Truesdales from the Carroll District, Danny Kelly from Bishop Dwenger. That's, timing is the spice of life, as we know. And it worked out perfectly for Coach Coffing. But, it's still, what do you do with those kids when you get them? And boy, has he turned Bishop Luers basketball in an outstanding program. Got it back to where it used to be, and his freshman class is outstanding. Zen Safarsky is getting some good minutes on the varsity. Saw Judah Allen hit a buzzer beater 3 in the JV game against Blackhawk Christian to win that. Jaden Moore, outstanding. I mean, I could go on and on and on. They have an outstanding freshman class as well. So. Bishop Luers ain't going anywhere. Of course, the Truesdales and Danny Kelly is going to get you a lot of wins, no doubt about that. But I think Coach Coffing he's an outstanding coach, and we're blessed to have him in Fort Wayne. There ain't no doubt.
And that's the thing, is that people that maybe outside of basketball that don't really watch it or understand it as well, think all you got to do is throw them out there. Great talent still has to be managed.
Right.
And, they have to understand that it's not always going to be about you, even though everyone thinks it's about the Truesdales. If they don't have those other kids accepting their roles and then having a tremendous player like Danny Kelly, who's a Division I player in his own right, then it's not going to work. You have all the ingredients, but the soup doesn't taste right if everyone doesn't understand, what their roles are. So that's a kudos to Coach Coffing and what he and his staff are doing as well.
Coach Edmonds, there's a lot on the line this Friday at Wayne High School for what many believe is the best game in Northeast Indiana this year for boys basketball. As a coach, I mean, you can say it's just another game, but do you approach it any differently during the week?
I mean, your preparation is still the same. You don't want to get away from, what has gotten you to this point. I think that sometimes when kids get into a game of this magnitude and you're hearing about it in the media and you're hearing about it in the hallways and your friends are calling and everyone's texting and everything else, you have to stay locked in and understand this is what got us here. And everyone's got to understand that you don't have to do anything special. Just be who you are. I can't be, it's just like if we were playing, I can't be Tim can't be you. We have to be who we are. And that's the identity that we've established all year. And that's got to be enough. If it's not enough, then hats off to the team that happened to beat us that night. But I think if kids start to feel like they, if I'm a role player and I score 5 points a game, tonight I got to get 20.
Right.
Thinking those kind of things, then you get away from the chemistry. You get away from what got you to the successful point that you are in your season. And if you keep those things focused and in mind, then everything else will take care of itself.
And Tim, you talked about the great atmosphere at Dwenger last Friday. Here at Wayne this Friday, I mean, are you expecting like an SAC holiday tournament championship type atmosphere?
Yes, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I know their coaches are as well on both sides. I haven't talked to Gary Raber yet, the athletic director, but I'm sure he's going to say the same thing. It's one of those, you got to get there early. You do not wait to 7:00 to get in that gym. Number one, it's Fort Wayne Community School, so there's some security that you're going to have to go through, and that line will be out the door. So you want to get there early. Just come for the girls' game. Come at 6:00. See a really good girls' game between Wayne and Luers, and then get your prime seat ready for the game of the week, of the month, whatever you want to call it. It's last Friday, as I mentioned, Jeff, it took me back to the SAC holiday tournament championship type of atmosphere. And I expect it just so happens to be at the location of the SAC holiday tournament in the years past in Wayne High School. It is going to be a electric atmosphere. And, when it's an electric atmosphere like that, the cream rises. And, I expect Truesdales and Danny Kelly to have, games of their lives. I expect Chase Barnes and Dillard and Williams, Comer to really step up to that next level, because everything's going to be on display come Friday night. Only so many can get in the gym. We'll have it live. I'm sure it'll be on the radio. It's any place you want to see it, you're going to be able to see it. But, with all the complaints that we've heard over the past 6, 7, 8 years, whatever, how long it's been about, what happened to Indiana high school basketball and the amount of fans in the building and everything. Well, it's still happening in Fort Wayne, folks. I saw it last Friday with Luers and Dwenger in the Battle of the Bishops, and you're going to see it this coming Friday. I see it every time I'm at Blackhawk Christian. The city of Fort Wayne does come out and support their local high schools. And it may not be like that throughout the whole state, but here in Fort Wayne it is, and you're going to see another dynamic atmosphere come Friday.
Coach Edmonds, does Wayne have what it takes to be a repeat regional champion?
I think, one of the things about Wayne is that, obviously the expectations were high, but this year's Wayne's team is different than last year's Wayne team. I think, obviously when you lose a tremendous point guard like Luers that they had to find someone that was was going to come in and kind of assume that role. So they have a different identity this year. I think they're just as dangerous. One of the things that about them is that you don't know on any given night who's going to hit you for the big night.
Right.
They got 4 kids that are capable of scoring 20 points. Whether they score 20 points individually or all 4 of them score 20 points in one night. I mean, that's how explosive Wayne is, and I think they're starting to hit their stride as far as what they're trying to accomplish, and they've got all systems go right now. They are playing well. Again, it's going to take a tremendous effort to beat them, and especially at their place. The kids from Luers obviously are going to come in and give it all they got. I mean, they might have to give it a little bit more than that to beat Wayne at Wayne, but it's going to be a tremendous game.
Hey, Tim, Trey Dillard here in his senior year is almost averaging a double-double. 14.1 points per game, 9.3 rebounds per game. We saw him on the football field, and he looked dynamic as a receiver / tight end. But is it pretty safe to say that basketball is his sport at the next level?
Yeah, there's no question in my mind. I mean, maybe if he started, football as a freshman and, did all that, he's a transfer from Michigan. So, I don't know how much football he had in his past, but yeah, he's a go-getter on the basketball floor. He's a walking double-double. I know that's cliche, but he's one. If there is such a thing, he's one of them. He missed it. I think he missed maybe 2 or 3 games throughout the season with some injury, but he's back. He's healthy, and he was huge in their run last year, as Coach knows, with getting that semi-state championship game. He was absolutely a key point. Of course, Baby J and Javon Lewis getting the shots when they needed a shot, which is now kind of Chase Barnes and Kalen Williams-Thomas's job to go get that now. But, this Wayne team can make a run. There's no question in my mind, even in Class 4A. They're a very, very talented group. I was looking at the sectionals, as the girls got released, and Keith, I was going to let you know we're going to try to talk about that and have a little podcast on Wednesday that I'll talk to you about later. But sure. That sectional is so tough. You have a Southside team which is outstanding, with their guard play and Belcher down low. Then you have Wayne, Homestead, and Huntington North. I mean, Homestead is one of the best teams I've seen all year as well. They got a sophomore in Mac Welker that's an absolute bucket getter. Can play inside and out. I think he had 27 points against Snyder and only shot 1 3. When coming into high school, he was known as a 3-point shooter. He's taking kids down in the post and using his 6'7", 6'8" length. He's moving himself into a Luke Goody type of upper echelon type of player at Homestead under head coach Chris Johnson. So yeah, Wayne can make a run, but boy, that sectional is a task to deal with. It's almost like that 4A sectional in football, Jeff, with Leo and Dwenger and Columbia City and all those, outstanding teams. So, that sectional is one of the most difficult, take away from the mix. But Wayne can't make a run, and Coach Brewer is an outstanding coach. I just messaged him to see if he was unavailable. I know we moved the time on him a little bit, but hopefully he can join us here within a couple of minutes. But Coach Brewer, another seamless, what we talked about with Coach Matt Roth, Keith. You know Anthony for him for a long time. He kept the majority of his, pretty much all the staff, Greg Patterson and Kenny and Michael Barnfield, and they've kept their staff, and boy, has that been a seamless transition, has that not, Keith?
Yes, and one of the things, and that's a very good point. One of the things as a coach, or one of the most difficult things to do, is win when you're expected to win.
Right.
And, people. People came in and came into in regards to Wayne, and they're thinking in regards to Wayne, hey, Brewer, just come on in and all you got to do is just step in and go win. But the thing about it is that as a coach, you have to put your fingerprints and your footprints on the identity of your team, and the team reflects the identity of their coach.
Right.
And you start to take a look at Wayne and what Coach Brewer has done, and not only won last year, and they were expected to win, they're expected to win this year, and he's done a tremendous job, despite the critics, myself included, and Brew played for me, so he knows if he gets out of pocket, I'm going to say something to him. And he knows, and I'll call him, I'll text him. He might block me, but I'll go by his house if I need to. But one of the things that Brew and we have a very good relationship. He always calls me Coach. Thanks, Coach, for everything you've done, all your support. And I'm proud of him and what he's accomplished. And it's so interesting because armchair quarterbacks and people that sit in the stands and they pay their $7 and they think that, that they can coach Wayne or they can coach Blackhawk Christian or Luers or some of these tremendous teams that we're talking about. But until you get in that seat and you realize, oh my gosh, I got to make all the decision falls on me. I have to know what to do. And everyone's looking at me. And Brewer had never been a head coach before.
Right.
So there was really, yes, he had been an assistant at Wayne and worked in a good capacity. But when you take that next seat over, and now it's all on you, and you realize the pressures that come with that, and the sleepless nights, and why didn't we do this, and why did that kid take that shot? He knows he's not supposed to shoot that. All these different things that come into play. It says a lot about what these coaches that we've talked to this evening, the different success. And all three of those teams have different identities and different formulas of success that work for them. And they're all having and doing a tremendous job.
Yeah, and Wayne. So we got Luers and Wayne on Friday, and then Saturday night Blackhawk Christian at Wayne. I don't know if they got enough popcorn because I know Keith is going to smash on some. So I hope they relive their popcorn there, Keith.
I'm telling you, this might be a 3-bag evening for me. So just get yourself ready. I need a Pepsi and 3 bags of popcorn because it's going to be something else to watch. And I might not have any voice left because I'm going to try not to be a fan. But if every now and then you hear me go, ooh, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of ooh and ah moments.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I'm looking forward to it. And it's just a lot of fun for me. And I appreciate you guys letting me live out my dream of being a little mini sportscaster. I have so much fun with it. I can't thank you guys enough.
We love having you.
Absolutely, Coach. Hey, Coach, you take a look at this. You got Luers Friday, Blackhawks Saturday. As a head coach, do you just relish these kind of moments because it kind of mimics what the playoffs is going to look like as you get further into, sectional championship, regional, semi-state?
Sure, of course. You want your kids to understand what a big game environment is, and you want them to understand that this is a big deal, and not many people. And again, you also want them to appreciate not everyone gets this opportunity to play in these types of games in front of these fans, and being in the state of Indiana is such a big deal to be able to play. And I talk about it all the time, and you hear about it all the time. And all the other 49 states is just basketball, but this is Indiana. This is different. It's different here. Mm-hmm. And these guys, hopefully they'll appreciate. It's so interesting because they'll look back on it, 10, 15, 20 years. My son, that played for me and graduated in 2004. He still looks back and says, man, if I had to do it all over again, I would do it all over again. Yep. We were fortunate enough, obviously, to get to the state finals, and we lost. But, to beat an undefeated Gary Roosevelt team that was, number 1 in the state, number 5 in the country, to beat them at Lafayette Jeff in front of 8,000, almost 9,000. This is Indiana. They build the gyms bigger than the town.
Right.
So, who does that? Who does that? Except for Indiana. And just getting a chance to play in those and that kind of environment. I always told our kids, when you walk into just look around and just appreciate. You feel it, you smell it, you breathe it, and then go out and do the very best that you can and have fun, because you'll never forget it. Win or lose, you'll never forget it. And that game is going to be sold out. This weekend, both games will probably be sold out this week. Well, even if we go let's take a look at the girls' game this week, the SAC championship on the line. With Northrop and Homestead, that game is going to be a tremendous game on the girls' side.
Yeah, that'll be Thursday, folks. Thursday, 6 p.m.
Yeah, so getting a chance to be in those environments is something that can do anything but prepare you for the state tournament. And I know these kids have tremendous goals in mind, and hopefully they'll be able to accomplish those things. But don't forget the journey. The journey is just as important as getting to the top of that mountain and everything that you go through to get there.
We've been talking about great atmospheres. Have either of you guys heard any rumblings about the SAC holiday tournament returning?
I would be shocked if that happened. Teams have gotten their, away from it. They're going out of town. They're playing, teams in their classes, or with the lower classes, they're moving up and playing other classes from Indy and from Northwest Indiana and that sort of thing. Unless some big sponsor came and was willing to, do something like that, I'm sure they could find one of the schools to host. Which is another thing that a lot of people don't realize, is that, so like a Wayne hosting it, the athletic director, Gary Raber, he's got to get all the volunteers together, people to work the door, and when you're playing, what was it, 8 games in 2 of the days, it was 8 games, right? So you're getting people there at 7 a.m. and they're not leaving till almost 10 p.m. It's hard to get volunteers to do that. Wayne has been blessed. They, great volunteers and staff out there that we've gotten to know over the past several years. But that's what a lot of people don't realize, is the amount of people that it takes to run these types of tournaments, especially an SAC tournament that's got 10 teams in it. A lot of these other tournaments, they're running with, 4, 6, 8 teams at the most. And having them at very large facilities. But if a sponsor came in and, could wrangle that together, I know a lot of the city wants it. They want it back. Whether the coaches do, I'm not 100%, sold on that. I think a lot of them are happy with not saying it's never going to happen, but taking a break from that. Sometimes you would play a team 3-4 times in a year,
right?
If you played them in the SAC. So, that I think that's, I know the money thing was an issue, and the sponsor pulled out was a big deal of it, but, they want to, play the best competition, and maybe that's not all the time playing in the SAC in your own conference tournament.
One of the things that I've always, Tim and Jeff, I've always been an advocate of, like the Big Ten, ACC tournament, that kind of thing, where we send 5 of our teams to South Bend area. South Bend sends 5 down here, and we do an SAC South Bend area type turn. Again, just something to whet people's appetite a little bit in regards to some of the talent that is not only in Northeast Indiana, but obviously up in the South Bend area. I've always been an advocate of that. I wish that someone would bite on that and at least take a look at it and see what the logistics would be. It would be great if we could do it at Notre Dame and do it at the Coliseum. I know that's crazy, but I'm crazy. And I think that would be, and let these kids play in an environment like that, playing at the Joyce Center or playing here at the Coliseum.
Right.
And I know there'll be a lot of workers involved, and I know but if I have a voice, if someone asks me, that would be something that I think would be a tremendous thing. And what you would do is all the teams that travel this year or the 1 year, then the next year they'd be able to stay at home, and you do a 2-year deal and see how it goes. Yeah. And just give it something to think about and give people just kind of plant that seed. But I do wish the SAC tournament would come back. It's always so much fun for me to coach in it, and we never won it, even though we had some very successful teams, and we played in the championship game at Wayne. But just being there and being in that environment and walking out and the gym is filled to capacity, and everyone's looking like, are we above fire code? I think we're above fire code. And people are looking in from the hallway that they couldn't get in, but they're looking, trying to see what's going on. But I just wish that we could at least, to start the discussion again, and then hopefully the powers to be will line up and we'll get that thing back going.
Right.
Well, and Coach, you have a lot of showcases, around the state, but not a whole lot of in-season tournaments. And do you feel like a win or go home tournament helps you for postseason play?
Well, I mean, if I get a chance to play against a top-ranked team or a team that has marquee players, who wouldn't want to play in that? Whether we win or lose, it is what it is. But getting a chance to play against some guys that these kids either have played against in AAU or they've seen them on Twitter, and they know the notoriety of playing against a top 10. You take a look at the kid that played for Kokomo last year. You can't tell me that kids from Wayne did not enjoy playing against arguably the best player and one of the best players in the country is doing well for Kansas right now. That's something that they'll never forget. So obviously they would have liked to have won that game, but I'm sure that to a man, give me that experience again, and I'll take it every time.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, we appreciate it. That's going to do it for the basketball section of our podcast, but we will be in talks, Tim. It's looking like maybe Wednesday at 7 p.m. we can showcase the girls sectional pairings that happened yesterday. Yeah. So I'm going to throw to a little 1-minute break, and we'll be back with some wrestling updates as sectionals start on Saturday. Tim, Coach Edmonds, thanks a bunch, and we will talk with you guys soon.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. See you, Coach.
Yep. See you.
Anderson Heating and Air, locally owned and operated with over 50 years of experience. Call us today and get a free quote on a brand new furnace and AC, financed and available. Don't wait. Call us today and sign up for a maintenance agreement and stay cool. Our maintenance agreements will ensure that you're first in line if you have an emergency, and we'll send one of our service techs out for cleanings twice a year. Call us at 557-0958 or request an appointment on our website. Call Anderson Heating and Air, where your emergency is our emergency.
Thank you for watching Summit City Sports. To help broaden our coverage, we're asking you to become a monthly sponsor to our Patreon account. We produce weekly highlights and live video broadcasts. When the Homestead girls golf team won its first state title in program history, we were there. When Fort Wayne brought back 3 state titles in cross country, we were there. We believe in sharing positive stories and setting the standard for how high school sports should be covered. Join us and donate today. And welcome back, everybody. We hope you enjoyed the first hour and a half talking about boys basketball. It's wrestling time, a great time of year as sectionals are starting this Saturday. And we have the head coach of the New Haven wrestling team, head coach Jimmy Linn. And Coach, thanks for joining us. We also have Bryce Schendel, who has been a part of the Garrett program for a number of years and now is calling matches for Summit City Sports. So bringing more wrestling matches to the living rooms of all of our fans here in Northeast Indiana. But Coach, thanks for joining us.
No, thanks. I appreciate it. I really appreciate the coverage you guys give us. And Bryce, thanks for what you do as well. It's nice to get wrestling some attention around our area.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's all new to me, but yeah, it's been fun.
You do a great job. Thank you.
Well, Coach, I just wanted to start off with thanks for taking part in the story about Juliana Campo, the Sunday Spotlight that aired yesterday. Wow, what a neat story right there. And she's currently ranked number 1 in the 106-pound weight class here in the Fort Wayne semi-state. But what's it been like, being able to coach her?
Oh, she's an amazing young woman. I mean, not just a wrestler. She's got a great personality. She does everything we ask her to do, and she does it with a smile on her face. And as most people know, wrestling's a really grueling sport. It's tough. It's a grind, and it takes a real special individual to kind of embrace that and love it and enjoy every minute of it. And she does just that. And she's got high expectations, and she sets high goals for herself. And I see absolutely zero reason why she can't attain them.
Absolutely. Bryce, we have the New Haven sectional coming up this Saturday. You're going to be on the call for that one.
Yep.
How excited are you about this sectional?
I'm pretty excited. It's gonna be a nail biter. I think New Haven and Homestead are both teams probably gonna bring it, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, Coach. Talk about that. What's the progression been like getting your team to this point right here where, the girls are having success statewide from a team standpoint? Last year, you bring home your first individual boys state champion and Ethan Doster, who's currently ranked number 1 in the state in the 150-pound weight class. But what's this journey been like? And now you're kind of reaping the rewards of it.
Yeah, it's been like a cumulative effort between a lot of people and a lot of years, really. I took over. This is my 12th year at New Haven. I was an assistant coach with Coach Barry Humble for 10 years previous to that, and I was lucky enough to take over a program that, had already kind of been established. Coach Humble had done a great job. When I took over, I kind of had some ideas and some things that I wanted to try to put us over the edge, and it took a while, and it really took the buy-in of parents and this senior group that I have that really has been a part of New Haven Wrestling Club since they were 5-6 years old. I've known a lot of these young men for a lot of years now, and the time and effort that they've put in it is really what's put us over the edge.
Bryce, did you have some questions for Coach?
Well, my first one is, you ever wear the Humble's boots? I'll see you coaching in those.
No, I'm not a big cowboy boot guy. I can tell you a lot of stories about Coach Humble. He wore Spurs one time too.
Oh, dude, he had Spurs at state. I remember seeing him in the locker room.
Oh, he's a great guy. He actually sent me a congratulatory text over the weekend. When I see him, it's a great time. We had a lot of great memories together, and I talked to him, and he's a big part of what's happening now. I mean, I've been the head coach for a while now, but really I cut my teeth with him. Coach Harley Brand is my assistant. He's been here just as long as I have along the way. And I've said before, I was kind of a football guy coming in to my job at New Haven, and they kind of transitioned and learned a lot of things from some great people over the course of 20 some years. And that's really, that's attributed to the success that we're having recently.
Yeah. Would you say this is probably your most dominant season? I mean, you guys have been pretty solid, and you send someone to state just about every year, but I mean, this year you guys are seems like you're a step above.
Yeah. I take pride in the fact that, I think we always put a quality product on the mat. Our kids work hard. Sometimes they get a little bit later start than some other programs do, but they always seem to come into their own towards the end of the season. But yeah, definitely. This is, I was a part of some great teams with Coach Humble, and 2009, we were regional champs, and then last year we were regional champs, and this year, but our area of wrestling, as you know, it's getting better. People are putting so much time and effort into giving avenues for these young athletes, not just from your school. Now you can go to these academies, and so many coaches, including Coach Krause, Coach Oberlin, Coach McClurg at Warrior RTC. Those guys have put in a lot of time and effort, and we do what we can with our athletes too. And then we try to really shop them out to those guys and learn things, so they're not just listening to me, 2-3 hours every day. It's nice for them to hear things from other people, and the effort they put in is what's really made the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard your wrestlers are at the fort quite a bit. I even hear stories about Juliana. Everyone says that she she's a hard worker, man. They're doing leg lifts. Hers are the last ones to fall.
Yeah, she's tough. I mean, there's nothing she can't do on the wrestling mat, and she really is. She's courageous. She backs away from nothing. I'm just her deciding that she's going to forego all the success that she could have on the girls' side just to compete with boys and get better is really impressive to me, and that's one of the great things that I think makes her a great wrestler.
Yeah, she's pretty incredible. So you would say these academies that are coming up, they contribute to your guys' success and everything. I just last year, I mean, Fort Wayne having 2 state champs, we've been kind of in a drought, and
Absolutely. So Easton Doster's an avid Warrior RTC. He works with Wade McClurg, and I've visited there and learned a lot from Wade as well. And he's done a lot for a lot of people. And Coach Andy Oberlin from Homestead has the fort, owns the fort, but he lets so many people like kind of have their hands in there. And it really, I think, is growing. Sam Ocampo, my assistant coach, Juliana's dad, does Beast Mode Academy, and what he's done with her and the rest of his family and a lot of other young people in this area is amazing as well. So there's always ways you can find to get better. And like I said, we offer a lot for our wrestlers in our room during the summer and off season, but we always want them to go out there and kind of check things out and see different competition and learn things from different people. And it also, a lot of us are teaching the same thing. So it's good for one of our wrestlers to go to Coach Obler and Wade McClurg, and he says the exact same thing that we're saying in the wrestling room. They're like, okay, maybe Coach Linn kind of knows what he's doing.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I would say Ocampo's he's a big reason of all like the girls' success in our area. I mean, I think I was a middle school coach last year, and we had quite a few girls, and I think is he still at the CCC?
He has been recently. He hasn't been there for a couple months, and I'm not exactly sure what his plans are, but he's still plugging away and doing privates and stuff like that. So he's a great technician. I mean, I think I can coach pretty well, but I've learned so much from him just in the 4 years that I've known him, and just little small things that you can tweak to make people better. And it's the little things that really matter when it comes down to elite level wrestlers, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's probably pretty nice to have in the room.
Absolutely.
All that knowledge.
Coach, obviously you have 2 number 1 ranked wrestlers, Ocampo, we talked about, and this is statewide right here. And then Easton, of course, the returning state champion. Who are some of your other wrestlers? We got to see you guys compete against Snyder, and man, you guys went through a nice stretch there, really kind of dominating the match. But who are some of the other wrestlers that have really stepped up for you this year?
Right. We're really heavy in like the first 4 or 5 weight classes. I've just got Juliana, and we follow her with Bakari Cooper, who's a sophomore. He's really, really talented, very athletic. He's 29-3. He would have been.
Is he the brother of Carrington?
No, you would think so. I mean, they look very, very similar. They wrestle very similar.
Yeah.
But no, he's not. They're not related. But he's a young kid. He was 126 last year because he couldn't beat Juliana. He couldn't beat Carrington Cooper. He couldn't beat Timmy Rocha. So we put him all the way up at 126, and now he cuts a lot of weight to get down to where he is, and you can kind of tell he's a big, strong kid. And, we got Timmy Rocha at 120. He's a senior. He's one of those kids that has been in our wrestling club, and he's had brothers wrestle for us. He's 30-something and 2 right now. I think he's got a real shot to wear a medal at the state finals. Sean Harris is our 126. He's only got 1 loss on the season. And then Braden Klauser's a senior. I think he's kind of overlooked. He went through some injuries, and he's taken some tough losses to some really good kids. And Malachi Thorner is a freshman. He's going to wrestle 138 for us. He's got his scratch weight down there about a week or so ago, and we've still been bumping him around a little bit. But I think again, he's a freshman. He can make it to state. He's got that kind of talent. And you got Easton Doster, obviously. Ian Amstutz is a senior, same thing. We're very, very senior heavy. And then our heavyweight is very solid, Charles McGrant. And then we got some guys in there that don't have like really, really great records, but they're solid wrestlers. Vince LaPera, Lucas Barkley, all those guys are seniors. We have 8 seniors in our lineup, so it's been a long time coming for these kids, and they want to make some noise. So I'm really happy for them.
Yeah, pretty solid team, like all the way up and down the lineup.
Yeah.
Coach, you mentioned Charles McGrant. Obviously, he's one of the better football players on the football team as well. Do you have a lot of football players wanting to come out for wrestling now that you're enjoying more success?
You know, I really wish I could say we have a bunch of them, but we really don't. We have a small handful. So, I mean, I was a football coach for a lot of years. I coached 18 years. I was a head coach in New Haven for 3, and I did a lot better job back then, to tell you the truth, recruiting and getting those kids to come out. And now we got a handful. I mean, I like the ones that we have. Ian Amstutz is a football player. Charles McGrant, obviously, and we got some JV kids, but those are really about the only 2 varsity kids that are football players in our lineup. So, but I would love to have more. It's not that we're not trying. It's just, you know, they're kind of doing different things right now, trying to focus on other things, and I'll keep working on it. And I think it's I'm a huge, like I said earlier, I played football at Manchester College, and that was my main thing. And I only started wrestling at a younger age just so I could be better at football. I don't know if you guys remember a guy from Northwood. His name was Nate Andrews. He was a state champion wrestler, and I read an article. I'm from like the Warsaw area, so I read an article in the paper about what he does in the off season, and he got a scholarship to Ball State, and he didn't like wrestling, but he did it anyway. So that's kind of how I kind of started, and I think it's great for football players.
Yeah.
Bryce, do you have some?
I was just gonna ask, like, with your guys' like recent success, has that increased your numbers? I'm always like a believer in, like, you know, success builds programs. Like, if kids see it, they want to be a part of it, and you guys are just, you know, you're killing it this year, and you did last year too. Like, are you seeing your numbers grow because of it?
Yeah, we had a pretty big significant jump from where we usually hover around, you know, 30. We start off with 40, we end up with 30. What I really noticed this year was once we started out with a lot more. We had, you know, mid 40s. That's including our girls. We probably had low 50s, and then just kind of success makes them want to. It's hard to sometimes keep those JV wrestlers that aren't getting, you know, 30, 40 matches a year. They might get 20 matches, and they're not getting as much mat time. You go to a duel, but we've really maintained that number, which usually we drop off a little bit. So we ended about 45 kids, and that's a little bit less than what we started with. But yeah, numbers. You're right. Success is. Wins will bring in people's interest, and we get a lot of new, like, first-year wrestlers this year, it's kind of nice. It brings some challenges, but it was fun.
Nice.
Well, I'm looking at the power poll here, Coach. It was put out on the 21st, and it has New Haven in at number 6. That's got to feel pretty good, being in an area with Homestead and Garrett, some of our wrestling powers.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, obviously those are just rankings and everything, but it's nice to see your name on there. We have our goals that we want to reach, and, you know, just being ranked and stuff like that really doesn't give us a whole lot of you know, just gives us a little bit more motivation to get where we want to be. We want to place in the top 10 at state, and I think that's very, very capable for us. We want to get, you know, more people there than we did last year. We took 4 last year. We want to get more there. So, but yeah, it's nice to see our name on there. But like I said, our wrestling, our area is tough. Our sectional, us and Homestead, we're going to be in a battle. And then you go into regional, it's not going to, I can't remember in the 22 years that I've been at New Haven where I think this regional is going to be top to bottom. It's going to be probably the toughest that I've seen it in a long time.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely the toughest in the semi-state this year. I think so. It's been Jay County in the past, but
yeah, I would say we're right there. You know, I definitely think that a lot of you don't want to draw into ours, so I wouldn't want to anyway if I was another regional.
Yeah, definitely not.
Well, Coach, you know, Bryce and I were talking, and, you know, I graduated in '96, and wrestling was always great in our area. Every year we had multiple state champions, individual wise, but it does feel like the last couple of years, maybe 15 years ago, something happened in the area where wrestling, maybe there just wasn't as much of an emphasis on it, to where the Fort Wayne semi-state was ranked 4 out of the 4 semi-states in the area. But now it seems like there's been a little bit of a resurgence. Have you felt that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm kind of that same era. I graduated in 1998. I can remember that those wrestlers and And the last time I think we had a multi-time state champ was Anton Talamontes right around that time. So, I mean, and we're looking to hopefully do that this year with Easton Dosser. But yeah, and I know things tend to go in waves, but it seemed like we were really down. We were down for quite a while. And now I think we're really and I think everybody in the state is kind of seeing that as well. I know some coaches that are in other semi-states, and it used to be, you wanted to draw the Fort Wayne semi-state at state. So, but they don't want that anymore. And I think that's just kind of attributes again to like what everybody's doing in our area. I mean, if you take time off during the off season, you're falling behind. So that's kind of like the motto we've had. And I'm sure Garrett does that. I'm sure Homestead does that. I'm sure Snyder does that. Belmont, all the teams in our area are just trying to catch up to the teams at the top, and it's really pushing everybody up.
Yeah, wow, Coach. An earlier win in a duel against Homestead, 48-26. We got to see you at Garrett. That was a 47-24 win. So it seems like your guys are consistently putting together a good season, week in, week out, match in, match out. The focus with this group, you feel like it's pretty solid. And I'm assuming with seniors like Juliana and Easton that, they kind of coach the room as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They're kind of built-in coaches and tremendous leaders. I think our goal always is to, be peaking at the end of the season. All these dual wins and some of the things that happens during the regular season is great, but if you want to compete for championships, you got to be on top of your game at the right time. We've had a couple injuries, a couple setbacks, and we're trying to overcome that. We're not 100% sure if our lineup's going to be 100% when we come sectional time, but we're trying, and we're gonna compete no matter what. And I think it's gonna be a tough day on Saturday for anybody that's there at our sectional.
Coach, we know Juliana's looking at King's University. She's also looking at maybe the Olympic Development Program. Your other top wrestlers, start with Easton. Does he want to wrestle at the next level?
Yeah, he's a Rutgers commit. So
yeah,
he committed to Rutgers at the beginning of the season.
Wow.
So he's going to be a Big Ten wrestler. He spent a lot of time in the off season there. His brother is at med school in Philadelphia, so he was kind of on that, kind of not quite East Coast, but close enough to get to Jersey and get in Rutgers' room a lot, and built some relationships with those guys and committed at the beginning of the season. So he's excited about it. I'm a Michigan fan, but I got my Rutgers.
Right on.
My Rutgers stuff on right now.
Nice.
Repping the Big Ten. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool to see him go to Rutgers. I feel like a lot of people go to Indiana or Purdue, but that's awesome. Rutgers, yeah. East Coast.
I think he kind of wanted to, I don't want to say he wanted to branch out, but just, he's got a different mindset and he's comfortable in settings that make, him uncomfortable. So if that makes any sense. So I think he likes the challenge of things and he really liked it out there and it was very comfortable for him. So, yeah. And I think he even said is inevitable because I think where the campus at, it's called Easton Drive or Easton Avenue. It is something like that. Really odd.
Nice. Well, that's awesome.
Yep.
Bryce?
What'd you say?
Sorry, did you have a question for Coach?
I mean, I could. What are you guys doing now? Like how you talked about peaking. Like I'm always curious, what are coaches doing at this time of the season to get your wrestlers to peak? Like, and you could say practice or whatever you want, but like, how do you get your wrestlers to peak? Like at this point in the season?
So we kind of structure our week. And obviously at the beginning of the year, we're going, 2 hours, maybe, just longer practices. And now we're to the point now where we're not really introducing a whole lot of new things. We're just, like today, it was kind of a slower, lighter day where we kind of went over some technique stuff. Coach Ocampo was in the room today, and we went over some things that we think that can help us. And tomorrow and Wednesday, we're going to hit it hard. It's going to be kind of our harder practices, and then we start backing off a little bit so we're fresh and just kind of monitor our weight and really like try to push forward for kids to get good sleep and make sure they're eating properly. And it's a huge thing in wrestling. It's like you have so much more energy when you're sleeping properly and when you're eating healthy and your habits are not, taken away from what you can do. So that's kind of what we do. It's worked for us in the past and hopefully it keeps working.
Yeah, it definitely has.
Coach, well, I'll tell you, obviously, Easton has a target on his back being the reigning state champion. Juliana competing against boys, a three-time girls state champion. Obviously, she's got a target on her back. How do you coach both those athletes up to kind of, deal with that?
Well, they're kind of two. I mean, obviously they're great. They're both great athletes and both great wrestlers, but they kind of have two different distinct personalities. Easton is super confident. I mean, I don't really need to coach him as far as like, hey, you can beat anybody. You can compete with anybody. He doesn't need that. He knows that, and he has that mindset, and he has that determination. Juliana's more laid back, and she's very confident as well. But she's one where you don't really need to work on technique or anything with her because she's already so good at it. We're just kind of trying to get her to, and like I said, just have that confidence that she can compete with those boys and be at the top of the podium. And I really think she can be.
I think so too.
Coach, obviously, wrestling is a little bit more of an individual sport, but it is a team sport. And, you got the program's first regional championship since 2008 last year. How rewarding was that for you as a coach?
It's really exciting. It's exciting to win championships in wrestling. Yeah, it is an individual sport, but these kids, they embrace the grind together. I talk about just, the camaraderie in the wrestling room, the beat downs that each one of them has taken over the years, and now they're enjoying that success together. It's I said in an interview earlier, some of my greatest memories are in the wrestling room in high school, and some of my best friends were wrestlers, and we still talk about it today. And these young men and young ladies are going to be talking about this in their high school career for a long time. They're going to talk about the great things that happened. They're going to talk about the things they wish they would have done, and it's exciting for them, and it's always fun to hoist trophies.
That's the truth. Well, Bryce, you're going to be at the sectional this Saturday. I kind of a question for both you guys, but Bryce, do you feel like New Haven can win this sectional with Homestead in there? I know both coaches very well, and you follow the wrestlers probably closer than anybody else in this area.
Dude, that's why I got to be there, man. I normally I'd be watching Garrett, but I'm gonna miss our sectionals. Just I got to be there. I got to see who's gonna take it. Both teams are tough, and they're both tough from top to bottom.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what intrigues you most about this New Haven sectional?
Those two teams. I mean, I would say they're probably the two best teams in the area, and you guys haven't seen each other in a tournament, and obviously you kind of handed it to them in a duel, but it was early in the season, so
Absolutely.
Anything could happen. I think New Haven definitely has the upper hand, but yeah, I don't want to say anything to jinx you guys.
I appreciate it. No, the Homestead's gonna be tough, and Andy and I text quite a bit actually, and we're just talking about how it's going to be a grind. We've already kind of talked about how the seeds are going to play out, and we wrestled them very early in the season, and they've gotten better. I like to think that we've gotten better. We may be a better dual team than we are a tournament team, just because we're very, very top heavy at some weights, and then we got some wrestlers that may get outperformed at some weights. But that's our job as coaches, and to get them coached up and try to close the gap as much as we can.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, we wish you all the best this Saturday. Well, what time are we estimating maybe the championship round starting?
So we're starting a half hour earlier than we normally do. We're going to start at 8:30. So I think we're probably going to look about maybe 2:30. I'm imagining it usually goes pretty quick. I mean, I don't want to take away from anybody else in our sectional, but really Homestead and us we're the top two there, and Snyder is probably following them. But I think there's a lot of forfeits in our, just by looking at the seeds and stuff, and the things that I've looked at already. There's going to be a lot of forfeits and a lot of quick matches, so it shouldn't be a really long day.
Okay, well, Bryce, did you have any other questions for Coach?
Has the seating meeting always been on Wednesday?
No, this is the first year ever. It's usually tonight.
I thought so, man. I thought it was on Monday. That's why I was surprised you were available. I was like, all right.
I don't really know why they changed it, and I'm not sure if sectionals are all on Wednesdays now, or some are on Mondays and some are on Wednesdays, but ours is on Wednesday now. So
IHSA always throwing you curveballs.
I guess so. I was ready to go. I like it kind of Monday because you get through that practice and then you start talking about it right away on Tuesday. Now you really only got 2 days to really kind of prepare, or really even one, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Friday's kind of just to probably make weight.
Right. Yep.
Well, great job, Coach. It's been so much fun watching your team compete this year. You got great stories, a great group of kids, and we wish you all the best this weekend, but also moving forward in what's going to be a very, very tough Carroll Regional.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys again just for all the coverage you do. It's very exciting. Our wrestlers love it. They're all the time talking about, watching the Summit City Sports YouTube station and just watching the interviews we post on our Facebook that we've done with you guys. It's exciting. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And everybody, that was head coach Jimmy Linn with New Haven Wrestling. And Bryce, you've known Coach Linn for a long time. Great guy. He's done a great job with the program. It's got to feel good for you to see the success that the Bulldogs are having.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I graduated in 10, so I remember them beating me at regionals and all that. So they've always been a decent team. But, yeah, this team right now, it's something special. They're tough.
Well, and Bryce, this time of year, as a wrestler, are you prepping for Saturday any different, knowing it's win or go home?
I think that the best wrestlers are going into Saturday knowing they're going to make it to next Saturday. In my head, that's how I did it, and I'm sure they're doing the same thing. I guess that they'll take that loss if it happens, but yeah, in their head, they're going in, they're making it to the next week.
And just real quick, your thoughts on the Juliana Ocampo story? Not the first ever girls wrestler to compete at Boys State. That was Kayla Miracle, but the first ever to medal. It's just a neat story and a very inspiring story, as well as, she could easily be a 4-time girls individual state champ, but she's chose to take on the challenge and wrestle up with the boys, and she's winning, and she's undefeated.
Yeah, and the favorite of the state too. I know she's gonna have a tough time, taking it all down, but man, she's proven that she deserves to be there, and she's one of the best at it.
No, absolutely. And I know we didn't get a chance to talk about Garrett much, but looking at that Carroll Regional, Garrett, are they far and away the favorites to take that?
I'd say New Haven is probably. The thing is, though, is New Haven and Homestead and Snyder will kind of beat each other up in their sectionals. So there's a possibility, if one of those good kids don't make it out, gets upset or something like that, and that's definitely going to help Garrett. But right now, I'd say it's New Haven's to lose. If you just look at the overall results and all that. I know when they wrestled Garrett, the Garrett wrestlers didn't have everyone in the right weight class, but to me, it's New Haven's to lose.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I actually meant to say the Carroll sectional. The Carroll sectional.
I would say, yeah, I'd say Garrett's probably the heavy favorite there. As long as everyone makes weight and is healthy, if you don't make weight this time, you're done.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got to see East Noble at Garrett earlier this year. East Noble pulling off the upset in that match. So it's going to be exciting to see what those guys can do down the stretch. I feel like their bigs on their roster really are the strength of that East Noble program.
Yeah, and I don't even think Plattner, was he wrestling for them when we wrestled?
No, I don't think we got to see Dallas.
Yeah, no, he's and he's tough too. He either got first or second at the conference this past weekend.
Yeah, and Riley Biddle, obviously probably their number one wrestler.
Yeah, I would say so. He's in a pretty tough weight class, though. He lost to Gavin Davis from Belmont this past weekend, I think by tech fall.
Oh, wow. And we were talking about tough weight class. That's the 160-pound class.
Yeah, there's some pretty tough individuals throughout. I would think Riley would be the favorite though to win his sectional and regional
Yeah, and sorry, that's the 165-pound weight class where Biddle's ranked number 9 statewide, and then Palat from Maryville's ranked number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, awesome, Bryce. Hey, thanks so much, for hopping on the crew with the crew this year and picking up wrestling for us. I've been getting awesome feedback, and honestly, the fans want us to do more matches per week. So we'll see if we can try to make that work. But nonetheless, we appreciate you bringing wrestling to Summit City Sports.
Yeah. Hopefully I just keep getting better at it,
Well, you're doing a great job. Well, that was Bryce. We had Tim Atkinson and Coach Keith Edmonds on, along with all of our coaches, Coach Coffing, Coach Roth, and then Coach Linn also joining us today. So thanks, everybody. And check out Bryce this Saturday, New Haven Sectional. Keep an eye out. Start time tentatively for 2:30 p.m., but should be a fast, fun hour and a half there at New Haven.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks again, everybody. Have a great rest of your week, and stay tuned as we will be posting what time we'll be having the girls sectional preview with Coach Edmonds and Tim Atkinson. Thanks again, everybody, and thank you, Bryce. We'll talk soon.
Yep. We'll see you, man.
Thank you for watching Summit City Sports. To help broaden our